I'll never forget this Mother's Day. From the moment I woke up, it felt like just another ordinary morning. The kitchen smelled of fresh pancakes, flowers were neatly placed on the table, and there was that warm buzz of family chatter that makes a home feel alive. My husband was busy pouring coffee, and my daughter was running around, clearly up to something. But then, just as I was about to sit down, she appeared in front of me, tiny footsteps, messy hair tied into a playful ponytail, and a grin stretched across her face. In her hands was a small, handmade card, decorated with colorful scribbles, hearts, and glitter that was already falling onto the floor. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and her whole body seemed to bounce with energy. "Mommy," she said, almost commanding me, "read this out loud." I couldn't help but smile. I thought I knew exactly what it was, another one of her adorable creations. She loved making cards for every occasion, and they were always filled with funny drawings of stick figure versions of our family holding hands, smiling suns in the sky, and words like "I love you, Mommy" written in her uneven handwriting. So, naturally, I expected something sweet, maybe a little silly, but nothing more. I took the card gently from her hands, making a big show of gasping at how beautiful it looked, just to see her giggle. And she did. She giggled and covered her face, already bursting with anticipation. But the moment I opened it and began to read, the atmosphere in the room changed. Roses are red, violets are blue. I started off with a smile, everyone leaning in, my husband even holding his phone up to record. But then the words twisted in a way I never saw coming. "You are a heavy burden, nobody wants you here." The room went silent. My hands froze midair. My husband's smile disappeared, replaced by confusion. My daughter's eyes were wide with expectation, and my heart dropped to my stomach. For a moment, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Why would she write this? Was this some kind of cruel joke? The laughter faded. The warmth of the morning suddenly turned into a chill. And in that stillness, I realized, this was only the beginning of a Mother's Day I would never forget. I slowly opened the card, careful not to smudge the glitter that was already sprinkling onto the table. The front was covered in bright crayon colors, shapes of hearts, stars, and even a crooked little flower that only a mother could recognize. My heart melted instantly. It was the kind of imperfect beauty that only a child's hands could create. Inside, her tiny handwriting filled the page. The letters weren't neat, some were too big, others too small, but to me, every crooked word was priceless. At the very top, in bold letters, she had written, "Roses are red, violets are blue." Everyone in the room leaned closer. My mother-in-law tilted her head, smiling with that awe expression grandparents always get. My husband, thinking it was going to be adorable, lifted his phone and pressed record. Even my brother chuckled, whispering, "This is going to be cute." I couldn't help but smile, my heart swelling with anticipation. For years, she had written me little notes. Simple things like "I love you, Mommy," or "You make the best cookies." Surely, this one would be the same, maybe even sweeter since it was Mother's Day. But then I read the next line. "You are a heavy burden, nobody wants you here." The words stung like a slap. My voice faltered. My eyes froze on the page. For a second, I wasn't sure I had even read it correctly. My husband's smile instantly vanished, and his camera lowered. The laughter that had filled the room just moments before disappeared into stunned silence. I could feel my cheeks burn, a wave of embarrassment rushing over me. My mother-in-law gasped quietly. My brother's chuckle stopped mid-breath. I sat there, frozen, wondering why my sweet little girl would write something so cruel. I looked up at her, my eyes searching for answers. She wasn't upset or angry, she was grinning. Her small hands were clasped together, and she was rocking on her heels, practically bursting with excitement. "Keep reading, Mommy," she said with a giggle. I hesitated, still caught between hurt and confusion. But something in her voice, that mischievous sparkle in her eyes, told me there was more to this story than what I had just read. And with trembling hands, I turned the page. "Roses are red, violets are blue. You are a heavy burden, nobody wants you here." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. My voice cracked as I read them, and instantly, the energy in the room shifted. Plates clinked softly as people froze mid-bite. My hands trembled against the flimsy card, and I could feel the warmth drain from my face. My husband's proud smile vanished in an instant, replaced by wide-eyed shock. Across the table, my daughter's little face lit up, not with guilt, but with a strange grin, as though she knew something the rest of us didn't. My heart dropped into my stomach. Why would she write this? She was my baby, the one who always climbed into my lap, whispering "I love you, Mommy," before bed. Did she mean it? Was she secretly upset with me? I caught sight of my relatives exchanging nervous glances. My sister-in-law covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. My mother-in-law raised her brows in disapproval. And then there was that awkward giggle from my brother. Half amusement, half discomfort, like he didn't know whether to laugh or apologize. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment. The silence pressed on me, heavy and suffocating. All eyes were on me, waiting for my reaction. For a split second, I wondered if I should stop reading, close the card, and pretend I hadn't seen the cruel words at all. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, my daughter burst into uncontrollable laughter. She clapped her tiny hands together and squealed, "Mommy, keep reading. Keep reading." Her voice was bubbling with mischief and joy, completely unaware of the weight I had just felt. I hesitated, still confused, but with everyone watching, I slowly flipped the page. That's when the truth revealed itself. On the next page, written in bold colorful letters and surrounded by glitter, stickers, and crayon-drawn stars, were the words. "Just kidding, Mommy. You're the best in the world. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." The room erupted. Laughter, cheers, claps, suddenly the air was light again. My husband sighed deeply, shaking his head with relief. My mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, whispering, "That girl," while smiling. Before I could even react, my daughter threw her tiny arms around my waist, giggling. And in that moment, the heaviness melted away. What had started as the cruelest words I'd ever read turned into the sweetest surprise I could imagine. Then suddenly, my daughter burst into laughter. She couldn't hold it in any longer. Her tiny shoulders shook, her face turned red, and she clapped her hands together like she had just pulled off the greatest trick in the world. "Mommy, keep reading," she squealed, her voice ringing with pure excitement. Her laughter filled the room, breaking through the heavy silence that had frozen us all in place. I blinked at her, still caught between confusion and disbelief. My husband leaned in closer, whispering under his breath, "Keep going, maybe there's more." My relatives shifted in their seats, half anxious, half curious to see what this little mastermind had planned. So, with trembling fingers, I turned the page. And then, everything made sense. There it was, written in bold, colorful letters that stretched across the paper, decorated with glitter and little star-shaped stickers. "Just kidding, Mommy. You're the best in the world. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." The words seemed to sparkle off the page, brighter than any bouquet or wrapped gift could ever be. For a moment, I just stared, my heart swelling with relief and joy. And then the room erupted. Laughter burst out from every corner. My brother laughed so hard he had to wipe his eyes. My mother-in-law shook her head, chuckling at the mischief. My husband let out the longest sigh of relief and muttered, "Oh, thank goodness," while pressing a hand over his chest like he'd just run a marathon. Even my mom, who had gasped earlier in shock, was now dabbing at her eyes with a napkin, this time, from happy tears. "That girl," she whispered, smiling through her emotion. Before I could even react, my daughter leapt into my arms. Her little hands wrapped tightly around my neck as she squealed, "Got you, Mommy." Her laughter was so contagious, I couldn't help but laugh along, even as tears rolled down my cheeks. In that single moment, all the tension melted away. What had started as the cruelest words I had ever read turned into one of the sweetest surprises of my life. My little girl had managed to prank me, shock the entire family, and then fill the room with so much love and joy that it became a memory none of us would ever forget. But here's where things got even crazier. What I didn't realize in the middle of all the laughter, hugs, and happy tears was that my husband had been holding his phone the entire time. He hadn't just recorded the first part with the silly poem, he captured everything. The prank, my shocked expression, the family's silence, the reveal, my tears, the plane ticket, every single second of it. Later that evening, while I was still recovering from the emotional roller coaster, he showed me the video. "This is too good not to share," he said with a chuckle. I laughed nervously, still embarrassed about my horrified reaction in the beginning. "You're not actually going to post that, are you?" I asked. But of course, he did. He uploaded it to social media with the caption, "Best Mother's Day prank ever, wait until you see the twist." At first, I didn't think much of it. People post funny family moments all the time, right? But within hours, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications poured in faster than I could open them. Messages from friends popped up, "Is this real? I can't stop laughing. I'm crying over here." It wasn't just friends, either. Strangers were commenting from around the world. Some laughed at my daughter's sense of humor, others cried at the heartfelt ending, and many said it reminded them of their own mothers. It was surreal, my little family moment was suddenly touching the lives of people I had never even met. By the time I went to bed, the video had already racked up thousands of views. But the real shock came the next morning. I woke up, rubbed my eyes, and reached for my phone like I always do. And there it was, 87 missed calls. My inbox was overflowing with messages. Some were from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, some from friends who couldn't believe what they saw, and a few from complete strangers who somehow got my number just to say how the video had touched them. The prank that started with "You're a heavy burden" had now traveled across the world, making people laugh, cry, and celebrate Mother's Day right along with us. It was official. Our little family joke had gone viral. That one little card turned what began as an ordinary Mother's Day into a memory I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I had expected flowers, hugs, maybe a small gift, something nice but simple. What I got instead was laughter, shock, tears, and the sweetest reminder of what motherhood is truly all about. My daughter taught me something that day: love doesn't always come in perfect packages. Sometimes, it comes disguised in silly pranks, glitter-covered cards, and words that make your heart stop before making it soar. Sometimes, laughter and love arrive hand in hand, wrapped in a moment so unexpected, you can't help but cherish it forever. Now, whenever I look at that card, I don't see the painful words, "You are a heavy burden." Instead, I see creativity, innocence, and a little girl who wanted to make her mom laugh before making her cry tears of joy. That card is no longer just paper and crayons. It's a piece of family history, a reminder of how a simple gesture can bring an entire room together. Mother's Day, I realized, isn't about how expensive the gift is or how fancy the celebration looks. It's not about the perfect flowers, the best dinner reservations, or the most expensive jewelry. It's about thought. It's about the love behind the action. It's about the small, genuine moments that make us laugh until our stomachs hurt, cry until our eyes swell, and smile until our cheeks ache. That card, that prank, that plane ticket, it all reminded me that the best gifts are not bought, but felt. They are the moments that stay etched in our hearts long after the day is over. And thanks to my daughter, this Mother's Day became one I will never forget. Every time I think of it, I'm reminded of how lucky I am. Not just to have been surprised with a trip, not just to have had a viral video, but to have a daughter who already understands that love can be expressed in so many beautiful, unexpected ways.